Oh, starting off great. Good morning. Um, Let me just doing the stuff on the back end to make sure everything's good because I am not cool enough to I'm definitely not cool enough to. Why is it still saying? Ah, there we go. Okay, so I don't know if anyone is actually here. If you are here in the chat, please let me know if you can hear me. I think all is well, but always like to double check. Especially because I have to do like 2 cameras, so I have to balance and make sure that the sound works. To balance. Okay, so the sound is working. We're all good. Yes. So, good morning. I haven't been live here on my public channel in a long time. Oh, and that is very strange. So, hi, good morning. I hope y'all are doing well. I have my candle remnants from when I did my tarot deck declutter, which I never ended up, like I finished the decluttering, but I didn't end up finishing with the candles. So we're just gonna light this bad boy and we're gonna finish it while we do this. I decided to just start early because I have a bit of a headache from just like sinus stuff. It's gotten a bit better, but I have a bit of a headache and I have a lot of things I need to do today. So I was like, I'm just going to start early while I have energy, make sure that I have the energy to do this so we don't completely lose our stuff for today. Our brain, hello. Our video for this week. I didn't want us to not have our video for this week because of because of life stuff happening. So I didn't want us to miss this completely. And as if you were following the community tab, which if you haven't yet, hit the like this video and subscribe, and then you'll find the community tab. I do post updates and stuff there fairly regularly, like if something is changing with the channel or like with the video that I've decided to do something. So I posted in the community tab. I had planned to do a video and I just kept running into technological snags. And the video I was going to be doing was talking about Mercury and Aries season, but specifically was about my my Mercury return. And doing that video just didn't work out. And so I was like, you know what else can I do that's like Mercury and Aries season? And I thought it would be cool to just come on here and talk with y'all and do a reading for the collective, for all of us, for Mercury in Aries season. So that is what we are going to do. I have 2 cameras set up. I'm not 100% sure how this down-facing camera is going to go. When I've done some live streams with the members, I've run into some issues where this camera like my phone times out, and when I'm using my phone's sound. Like this is where the mic is coming from. So I don't know what will happen if like if this times out, it freezes and then we lose sound. And if I don't notice, that's kind of an issue. So it's a thing. I don't really know how to troubleshoot it. It's something I didn't run into when I was doing lives and stuff before. And then it just suddenly kind of started happening. So I don't really know what to do about that. But we will figure that out. So if you're watching and the sound stops, just like all caps it in the chat, be like, check your phone or some such like that. So if you're watching this on replay or live and you are new to my channel and we've never met, hi, my name is Veryn. I use they, them pronouns. If that's a problem for you, you can take your problem and fuck off with it because I don't give a shit. And I am a professional astrologer and a tarot reader. I do have a website. It is linked down below in the description box always. And I like to use tarot and astrology in journaling to do most of my witchy work, to do pretty much most of everything that I do. And so I like to share about that. I am still in a state of flux. I, without meaning to, took a hiatus from YouTube for a while. That started like last summer. And while I'm very happy to be back, there's still a lot of thinking, and for me, just personally figuring out what exactly I want to do, and how I want to do the work that I want to do, etc., etc., etc. So I'm still kind of, hey, Jennifer. Hi. How are you, love? So I'm still kind of figuring out life stuff. And yeah, that it is what it is. Sorry also about this light, but if I turn this off, there's a very large shadow right there. So yeah. I hope you've been doing well, Jennifer. It's pretty good to be back. I'm just kind of doing some troubleshooting. I also, oh my gosh, I got my first tattoo and my hair is driving me bonkers. It is so itchy because my tattoo, I don't know if you can see that, but I got my first tattoo and on my back, and so my hair keeps hitting it and it's making me itchy because my hair is getting long again. That is very valid. So for this live, we're going to be talking about Mercury and Aries season, and we're going to be doing a reading for the collective. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. Also to pop them in the comments if you're watching the replay. And if you would like to hear more specifically about how Mercury and Aries season is impacting you personally, because the impact is not the same for every single person, check out my website down below. I have a bunch of sessions, and at the very least, if you're unsure which session to pick, because the website is going to be getting an update. Thank you. You saw my, oh, you could see the tattoo. Yeah. Yeah, I'm really happy. My hair normally looks better than this. I'm learning how to do the curl. It's reached the length where my curl falls, and I need to get like something with better hold. So my hair has natural curl to it, but yeah, you can't really see. But my hair is doing quite well, growing in wonderfully. Like, this is a year of hair growth, and so that's pretty dope. Anyways, as I was saying, if you want to know how this transit is impacting you, then You can check that out. Check out my website. I'd be happy to help you navigate that. If you have any trouble with navigating my website, just shoot me an email. My email is always in the description box. But if not, it is the thecraftedwitchery@gmail.com. Let me just, my computer just did a wobble, so let me just check my settings and make sure we're not going to run into any issues. Okay. And if you are here for just a little bit, or if you're watching the replay, if you like this idea of me doing collective readings for transits, where it doesn't necessarily have to be live, but it can be where I come on and I talk about the transitory period we're in for astrology and do a reading for the collective. If you like that, let me know in the comments, because this might be something I do more in videos. So Aries, not Aries, Mercury is now in Aries for a little bit, and that started, this is my honeycomb co, so let's make that bigger, here on Saturday, March 9th at 11:02 p.m. Eastern time, so convert that to your own time, Mercury entered the sign of Aries. So for all of us, for everybody in the world right now, Mercury is lighting up Aries in our charts. And it's going to be a little bit longer than it usually is. Mercury I'm just doing some quick Mercury is normally in each sign for about 3 to 4 weeks. The thing that makes Mercury's orbit longer is the fact that Mercury likes to go retrograde. 3 to 4 times a year, Mercury goes retrograde. And we are coming up on one of those times. Now, don't panic. I know there's a lot of crap on the internet where people get their panties all up in a bunch for Mercury going retrograde. And as I've talked about before publicly, I've talked about with my members before, like last year and stuff, Mercury retrograde does not have to be a shit sandwich. We don't have to do that. Mercury retrogrades impact different people differently depending on their chart. There is a certain amount of universalness to the energy in the world, and to the astrology energy that impacts us. That is true. There's a certain amount of universalness, and it is also true that there's also individuality. So while there's an overarching impact that does happen, each individual is still impacted on their own level. So not everyone's going to feel Mercury retrogrades the same way. For example, Virgos and Virgos and Geminis are going to feel Mercury retrogrades more than any of the other signs, because Mercury rules both Virgo and Gemini, especially if you are a Virgo rising or a Gemini rising. If you're just going to be impacted more by those things based on your astrology, because Mercury would be your chart ruler. If you are in an annual perfection year that lines up with Virgo or Gemini, then Mercury is your time lord, and you will be impacted during that year extra by Mercury transits and Mercury retrogrades. Otherwise, you will feel Mercury more indifferently when it is impacting directly with your chart. Some people just have very strong mercurial energy based on their chart, and then it impacts them, which is so like my kiddo always is more impacted by Mercury retrogrades because he's got Sun, Moon, Mercury, and rising sign are all in Virgo. So he is an extremely mercurial child according to his chart. And therefore, when Mercury retrogrades happen, it tends to be more noticeable for him than for me. I am not very mercurial. I do like to talk, but in my chart, there's not a lot of like strong mercurial energy. Because there's also the astrology technique where everyone has a dominant planet. If you looked up my kids, I'm pretty sure it would say Mercury. I don't know all the details of how they do those calculations. Mine is not. Mine is Venus, I think. Now I'm curious. I think mine is Venus, or I don't know. We're going to find out really quickly. I'm going to have a little rabbit hole. Then there's the factor of the other way it would currently impact is like me right now. I am the sun and the moon are my dominant planet. The sun, Saturn, and the moon are my dominant planets. Air is my dominant element. This Mercury retrograde, which is coming up, is going to impact me more strongly than others, than some others, and it's going to impact me more strongly than other Mercury returns impact me, or Mercury retrogrades impact me, because my Mercury is in Aries. So when you look at my chart and you find the glyph for Mercury, it lives in Aries in my chart. And this Mercury retrograde is in Aries, so I'm going to be more impacted by this transit and by this retrograde because I'm in my Mercury return period. A return period goes from, it's when a planet as it's moving through the sky lines up with a planet and where it was in your chart, and it starts the first time that planet enters the sign and goes all the way till the last time it exits, including any and all retrogrades. And because sometimes planets will like dip into a sign for a little bit and then retrograde out of it and then come back and then leave it, and it includes that whole period of time. So I'm in my Mercury return. So I have the dates written down here. So March 9th at 11:02 p.m., all of the times I say will be in Eastern time because that's my time zone. Mercury first entered Aries. On March 18th at 11:39 p.m., Mercury is going to be entering its shadow in Aries. And the shadow aspect is when you, I'm trying to think of the words to put it. There's a shadow period, which it starts with, there's a shadow period whenever Mercury is going to retrograde, where it's like, okay, Mercury is moving through Aries. This is the point where the retrograde will end later. So that's when it's entered its shadow period, and it goes along, and this is the point where Mercury will station retrograde. And so it creates this chunk in Aries or in whatever sign where it's like, this is the period of shadow. So, because Mercury is going to move past this point and it's going to go to this point. And at this point, it's going to station retrograde. And then it's going to travel back and it's going to hit this point again before it stations direct and then goes back forward. So that period where it's like, okay, Mercury has entered the area where it will be retrograding, that's its shadow. So that happens on March 18th at 11:39 p.m. On April 1st at 6:14 p.m., again, Eastern time, is when Mercury will station retrograde in Aries. And then in March 25th at 8:54 a.m., Mercury is stationing direct in Aries. On May 13th at 5:01 a.m., Mercury leaves its shadow in Aries. And then at May 15th at 1:05 p.m., Mercury enters Taurus. So the entire period of this Mercury in Aries time that we are all experiencing started March 9th and is going until May 15th. So that's several weeks. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 8, 9, almost 10 weeks. So it's a significantly longer time. So that's the basics of this information. If you are listening to this and you're super confused, but you are curious about astrology, as I mentioned, I am a professional astrologer and I love doing consults. I have lots of options that are available. If you're specifically curious, you just want to hear me chat astrology at you about this transit and how it's impacting your chart, that is a service you can book that is the most applicable, and you would just fill in some information and tell me you want to know about Mercury in Aries. Otherwise, what we're going to do together now is we're going to do a reading for the collective. And if you want a reading for yourself to talk about how this is impacting you and to look at your chart specifically, I don't have an actual reading available for that right now on the website. However, it is something I would like to offer. I just have to update the website. So the Mercury return is the closest reading, the most comparable. So if you book that and then just in the like description, there should be an area where you can put details. You could just like let me know I want to book this for just doing a reading of the Mercury and Aries transit. And obviously, if all of that's too confusing, just send me an email. I'll do the work and just send you an invoice, kind of a thing. We will find ways to work together so long as you would like to. Now, we are doing this in the same style. I'm just checking my volume. Yep, all right, great. We are doing this in the same style, in the same way that I do my year ahead spread readings and all of my readings that involve astrology. This is a method I've kind of developed for myself. I can't say for sure that no one uses it other than me, because I mean, I'm not the only person on the earth. It's very reasonable to think that someone else might have thought of this. And I've certainly talked about it, so other people might do it now. I don't know. But this is a thing I designed for myself. I did not take this from anybody. This is my process and my work. And so what I do is we use the heavenly bodies. Oh. My computer's just being a bit weird. Okay. There's just too much going on my computer. Give me a second. Okay. We use the Heavenly Bodies astrology deck and the astrology of the world, and we build a reading. And then we use I use the Star Seeker Tarot to interpret and do the reading itself. So we're going to do this. gonna just get that loaded. Okay. Did I pick to do this on the day when I did? Mercury has lined up with the sun. Awesome. For me, that is. Okay. All right. So I'm going to do a share screen so that way you can see what I look at when I do this. Okay, let me see. Great. So you can see all of the screens at the same time. So this is what I look at. Now, granted, this is my birth chart in the center. This is just kind of how I operate, in that I don't want to draw a chart for the moment. My brain, I just don't kind of don't like that. So what I do is I always pull up my chart as the offset, and I generate my chart on astro.com. This is the website I recommend. And then I click the with transits button. It currently says without because I have them on. So that's how it looks when it generates. And then I click the with transits button. The inside here is my birth chart, and the outside here is where the planets currently are in reference, currently are in the sky. Okay. So, and then I use my heavenly bodies to build the chart. So obviously, the main thing we are looking at here, this is all about Mercury. So I take my Mercury card, and that becomes position 1. So here's the Mercury card. And that's because this is a Mercury reading. So Mercury is the main energy. This card is going to serve as like the focus. It's going to be the main energy, kind of the thing it all comes back to. This Mercury is in Aries. So I'm taking out the Aries card. I'm putting that down here. I kind of change how I set them up based on what all I end up pulling. And then the other thing I look at is what's currently in Aries. If I was doing this as a reading for myself or for someone else, I would look at the houses, because the houses tell us a lot. That said, the houses are personal. I cannot run through and do all the houses. I do not have time for that. So that's where, if you really want to see how this is impacting you personally, book a reading is what I recommend, because then we can dig into that as much as you'd like. So, but it's in Aries for everyone. The houses change, but for everyone, it's Aries. So we're looking at the stuff that's applying to everyone. The other things that are applying to everyone is that, I'm going to grab that for a second, put these aside, is that Chiron is currently in Aries. Okay, so now I know how I want to build this. The cool thing with astrology is that here's the Chiron card, is that you can generate a chart for anything, and it always acts like a birth chart. It's essentially saying, like, in this, like, you take a snapshot of the sky, and then based on where everything is, you get an idea of energies. Whoops. you get an idea of energies and you can interpret that, and it can tell you about the period of time, the person, whatever it's about. Okay. So Chiron is in Aries. Chiron is this. So we're looking at these symbols up here. We've got Mercury accounted for. That's the main fucker that we're doing this reading for. He's up at top. Aries is accounted for. That's over here. Chiron, that's this little guy that looks like a key right here in the center. Now for this little one, that is the North Node. And that means we're also taking a look at Libra, because the North Node being here, it never shows it on the charts or on transits, but if the North Node is here, there's a South Node that goes with it, and that is directly opposite, currently hanging out in Libra. I'm curious. So I also have a card for Libra, and we're putting it over here on the side, and the cards for the North Node and the South Node, because you don't look at the North Node and the South Node like, you can't look at one without looking at the other, because the entire thing is that they balance each other. That is entirely the point. The North Node and the South Node are known as the karmic nodes of the moon. They go together. In Eastern, in an Eastern culture, I do not know which one, they are known as Ketu and Rahu. Ketu being the tail of the dragon, Rahu being the head of the dragon, which you can see depicted here. And actually, I'm just going to switch the sides, because I always like to have the South Node on the left-hand side, because I like the pictures to line up, because that's tail to the head. And part of why I do this is because you start here. The North Node, there's a lot of different views on it. The North Node is a jumping off point. It is the starting point. For some beliefs, it is indicative of a past life, and the North Node, or the South Node, would be the past life, and the North Node would be the life you're moving towards. There's also schools of thought of the South Node is something that you have overdeveloped, that you need to like move away from, like a behavior or a thought pattern, and the North Node would be something you need to develop to balance karma. There's lots of different things. The important thing to remember, and what I struggled with and where I've landed, is that the North Node, you don't want to fully get rid of the South Node. The South Node is like your foundation. It's your starting point that you build on. So instead of imagining it as a point to move away from, what I try to imagine is like the South Node is the dirt. You plant a fucking seed so it can grow a big, beautiful tree, and then you climb the tree to get to the North Node. You need both. So you always look at both together. And so for everyone right now, and the South Node and the North Node have been in Aries and Libra for a while. Let me get those dates for you. The South Node and the North Node entered Aries and Libra on July 18th, 2023, and that is where they will be until January 11th, 2025. The South Node and the North... Are you okay, buddy? Cam, are you okay? Okay. The South Node and the North Node stay in each sign for about 18 months. These are the main energies going on in Aries. And so this is what we look at to get an idea of what Mercury might be on us about. So I'm going to move this. And this is the process I go through when I build any of my astrological tarot readings. I always start with looking at the chart And from that, and with my intuition, because sometimes I have to choose which things are standing out and which things intuitively feel like they're going to be significant, and I look at those. And then we pull cards to interpret. And so that's what we're going to do. I use my Star Seeker Tarot for this. It is my most used deck because this is the majority of my client work. I am, in fact, getting rid of some of my readings that have been available that haven't really gotten any interest. And I'm focusing on this kind of thing. And I'm thinking of doing that on YouTube as well. In some ways, I don't want to, I don't think I want to fully stop doing my other stuff, but that would be more for fun as an aside. And I think this is kind of what I'm gonna focus and build on. Let me know how you think of the ideas, and the membership's getting upgraded and updated, because this is the kind of work I want to focus on. So we're gonna just get some shuffling. Okay. All right, let's see what we've got going on for Mercury. Mercury. Libra. I want that one. South Node. Chiron. Oh, really? Chiron. North Node. Okay. And Aries. Wonderful. All righty. Let's see what we've got. We have the Four of Wands for Mercury. The Seven of Cups for Libra. The Five of Swords for the South Node. The Fool for Chiron. Love that. The Ten of Cups for the North Node. And the King of Swords for Aries. Okay. So first of all, only one major, which is interesting. I absolutely love that the major we got is the Fool, and it ends up being the kind of focal point of the reading in its own way. It's not technically this is the main focus card. However, the Fool is kind of pulling focus towards it. And I love this because Aries the North Node in Aries feels so much, at least to me, like a fiery rebirth period. The last time the North Node was in Aries was 18 years ago. So from December 27th, 2004 to June 22nd, 2006. So it's very much a fiery rebirth, and a lot changes in our world in 18 years. So I love that this is pulling focus. And even more so than that, Chiron in the North Node is something we will only ever experience once in our lifetime. Chiron in the North Node, or Chiron in Aries dates, the last time Chiron was in Aries was a long time ago. The most recent previous dates when Chiron was in Aries was from April 1st, 1968 on and off, there was a retrograde to March 28th, 1977. Chiron in each sign is kind of like a once in a lifetime thing, unless someone happens to live to be like 108. 1 second. Sorry about that. I just got a message and I just wanted to check and make sure everything's okay. Chiron has a 54-ish year orbit. Yeah, Chiron orbits the sun every 50.65 days. So a Chiron return pretty much aligns with the time frame that people look at as the midlife crisis kind of time. So like unless you live to 100, you're not likely to experience Chiron in Aries again. Like it depends entirely. There's no guarantee. I am currently almost 33. So at another 50 years, it's a crapshoot whether or not I will be alive the next time this energy is at play in our world. And the next time it is at play in our world, if I am alive, I'm not going to be experiencing it the same. It's going to be an entirely like a whole lifetime from now kind of a thing. So it's very significant, and that having the Fool for that very much hits on that. Like we're in a whole new phase of life. There's all this new happening. Now that's always true. Like life is constantly growing and evolving and changing. That is always true. That said, that doesn't change how significant it is for us who are living this new now, for us who can look at the time before and the time now that we're moving towards and see the shifts. There's always kind of a point where the torch gets passed from one generation to the next. And we're at that point. Like I'm 33. I'm adult enough that I've settled in. My generation is adult enough that we've settled in, and we've started to reach the ages where our stuff is coming back around because we have kids, and like 90s fashion is now nostalgic, and it's this whole very strange thing. Life is fucking weird. So I really love that the Fool is there for that. Otherwise, there's no Earth in this reading. There are no pentacles. So there is this isn't about our bodies necessarily. This isn't about earthly pursuits like finances. It's just not about that. That's not what's going on here. What we do have is we have a lot of energy. Like these three cards here, we have a lot of energy of kind of sorting things out. Okay. We should be back up. Let me just check. Should be back up. Let me just check. All right, we're good. All right. Sorry about that. My wife needed me, and I just got to make sure she's all good. So, these cards in particular, there's a lot of energy of kind of like sorting and reflecting and seeing how we feel, because the whole thing is we want to move towards this. This is where the north node, or where the north node is. So this is the stuff we're moving towards, and this is what we're moving away from. We're moving towards this new journey, and in order to do that, we have to look back. We have to reflect. We have to do this kind of thinking, because I don't know how this applies to each individual person, obviously, but there's... Hello, Serena. Welcome. I don't know how this applies to each individual person, but there's this... I don't know if you feel it, but I feel like the world is like on the edge of a new thing. There's a precipice. And what we definitely don't want to do is we don't want to move forward in the same way we have been. New world, new life, new methods. It doesn't mean all of the previous stuff doesn't work. All of the ways we would operate and move through life didn't work, but we need the new. We need the new. We cannot... It's not about responding to life in the same way. It's about learning different ways and different things. It's about adaptability. That is 100% what we need. And the humans have this great resistance to change, and it's very understandable, and it's not helpful because life is constantly evolving and changing and growing. So in order to do this new thing and to move towards these wonderful things we want, we have to recognize and accept that we are in a life, and as ourselves are constantly growing, evolving, and changing. And we have to allow space for that, and allow space for our responses and for how we think and how we feel to change and grow. We want to move towards this collective, this beautiful 10 of Cups fulfillment. And having the King of Swords is quite interesting, because the King of Swords is a very discerning figure. It's very logical and kind of at peace with their own brain. At least that's what I'm feeling from this picture. It's not that the King of Wands never experiences anxiety and stuff like that. It's more so that the King of Wands knows how to move through these mental experiences that bring up a lot of emotional stuff. And when we're able to move through our mental experiences and our emotions, we get more emotional enjoyment and fulfillment, because we don't end up stuck in an unhealthy thought pattern, for example. Now this is a vast oversimplification. Mental health is a very real thing. There's so many aspects to it. Keep all of that in mind. In order to get this is really what is going on here. We have the Seven of Cups, which is a card all about deciding. And it's a Cups card, so it's about emotions too. And admittedly, the Seven of Cups is a weird one that I just haven't fully personally understood. Like, I do this thing with readings where like I develop personal understandings of what the majority of that card is for me. And the Seven of Cups, it hasn't quite clicked yet. A woman of royalty has been separated from her carriage, lost in the dark wood. She wanders in search of the path. The deeper she goes, the more confused she becomes. Though she knows she's not meant to trust or take anything from the dark wood, the trees whisper promises of help. It's a temptation she is finding harder to resist. But just ahead is a light. She hasn't looked high enough to see it, but it's there to guide her out of the wood and back to safety. It can be easy to lose your way when surrounded by darkness. It can be easy to lose your way when you are being offered an easy choice, a quick choice, or a fantastical choice. But there is always a guiding light in the darkness, no matter how small or difficult it is to see. There's always a choice that will bring you into alignment and move you towards love and harmony. It may not be the easiest to find, to recognize, or to choose. Sometimes it is further away and requires a longer journey. Focus on finding the light and you will find your way out of even the darkest of places. Make choices based on reality and truth, being honest with yourself about what is just fantasy or temptation. Okay. And then for me, the Five of Swords is the at what choice card, or at what cost card. And the Four of Wands is about like nostalgia and looking back. A couple enjoys a magical moment in each other's company. The special moment is a celebration and reward for all of the effort they've put into their journey together. They are celebrating their success and accomplishments. Together they spend a day in the clouds, rising above the mundane and experiencing life from a higher place. This is a place without worries, deadlines, or duty. In this place and time, they can simply be, observing and appreciating the beautiful life they have built together from the ground up. The Four of Wands encourages you to be present with your accomplishments. Take time to celebrate all that you've achieved, no matter how small your feat may feel. If you never take time to enjoy the fruit of your efforts, what is the point of working so hard? If you are currently nearing the end of a goal, the Four of Wands foretells success. Continue to put forth an effort and remember to enjoy the journey as much as the outcome. Okay. What I want to tell you looking at these cards is something I tell myself regularly and something I tell my clients. We're living in weird and tumultuous times. There is a lot going on in the world. And that's not to say that previous times haven't been weird and tumultuous. Quite frankly, it's not about those times. It's about this time where we are at right now. And for those of us who are like around my age, perhaps you haven't lived through tumultuous times like this yet. I know I haven't. I was a kid. So, and I know for myself, there's a lot of us that are struggling with trying to figure stuff out. Step one, and this is the most important thing. Hey, Danny. Is don't sell yourself and your accomplishments short. At the same time, just because you've accomplished something over here doesn't mean you have to stay over here for forever. It's time to move to something new. It doesn't have to be vastly something new. And for some of us, this may be an external manifestation of this. For others, it might be more internal, a new way of thinking, a new way of being, a new way of communicating. Especially thinking and communicating, because those are what Mercury rules. The at what cost card is a hard card to come up against. Not quite against, but it's a hard card when it comes up, because when that happens, there's a lot of experience of like really looking at how the things you've done have impacted you. And this reminds me of readings I've done for myself, for clients, where the feeling is an overwhelming, you've come to a point and now you're going to see that in some ways, even if you may have dreamed of getting to this point for a long time, that it's not what you wanted, or it's not what you imagined, or it didn't fix the problem. It didn't fill the hole. Something along those lines. And so then the question becomes, what's it going to cost you mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually to keep going? What's it going to cost you to keep going after this thing, or to keep working with this thing? What is it costing you? Because the last thing you want is, you don't want holding on to the past to cost you moving forward into the future. That's an expense I don't want any of us to pay. And I know it's big and lofty, especially because, like, obviously I can't provide a lot of specifics, but to have this idea that, like, maybe there's this big thing that is changing for us, but I can't tell you what it is because I'm reading for a collective, not for a specific. And so how do we get us through when it's confusing and we still don't quite know what direction life is taking us in? This is where it's the touchstone. You need to have a touchstone, an idea that it's like, I don't know a lot, but I know I want this. And so I'm going to keep this laser focused in my focus to guide me as my guiding light, the cup, the guiding light, the torch. What is your guiding light? Mine is love. And also, so like for me, this Mercury stuff is about work, because that, and my life's purpose, because that's what Aries is, and that is what is coming up for me. Okay. And I'm very much in a shifting this and starting a new journey, trying to figure out, and I don't know what I'm doing with it or where I'm going. I know I want to do client work. I know I want to do YouTube. I know certain things. And I know I want to empower people. I want my work, my life's work, to be able to show people that they can lead the life they want to lead, and fuck everyone else. Not like, don't like be cruel, but who gives a shit about other people? It's your life. You get to lead it. And I want to show that that is the possibility and the reality. We are not, and our lives should not be lived subject to the whims of other people and their expectations. So, for me, my touchstone is empowerment. As I'm going through this journey trying to figure out my stuff, I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, I know I want to empower people. And how do I like to do that? And I'm trying to line up all of these things with this touchstone. So what's yours? What's your touchstone? What is the cost of the way you've been doing things? What is the cost of the way you've been thinking and communicating? There's often an unintended cost that we don't necessarily know of. And are you going to keep trying to do things the same way because it's how you've always done them? Or are you going to be grateful for the fact that you've gotten to the point you're at and shift in the new direction? I don't know what the new direction is. I wish I did. And that's kind of why it's hard for me to do collective readings, because I feel like it's not impactful. So I don't know if that makes any kind of sense to anybody, but that's what I've got for you. So I don't know. I do know that I do have an idea I've been thinking about the idea of doing live reading events on YouTube. Thank you. I'm thinking of doing, because I've tried before filming the like pick a card readings, and it's like, I don't like that. It just doesn't fully work for me. But what I'm thinking is doing live event readings where I come on live for a set out period of time, and I will do a reading for tips. I do a free live readings event for my channel members. So, and I'm thinking of doing like, give a tip, get a reading, or the first 10 people, or I don't know. So that's an idea I'm toying with. But that is what I've got for us today. Just to, yeah, sorry, this is just out because I needed to move it so I could set up for the camera. But that is what I've got for us today. I have to head off because I do have more things to do. Let me know in the comments down below how you enjoyed this, what your thoughts are. Don't forget, you can check out my links in the description box. I'm a professional tarot reader and astrologer, and I really do love doing specifically working and doing readings like I've just done. They are truly my favorite. The collective part's a bit harder, but perhaps not. Perhaps there's another way. I don't know. We'll figure it out together. But I'm going to let you go here. Clean up and get on with the rest of my day. And I will talk to you all very, very soon. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day. Lots of love. Bye.